What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPapa, and I'm so freaking excited to bring this video to you guys. So if you are a Pokemon data head like me, you're gonna love this. If you love the Sword and Shield era, you're gonna be all into this. If you're into sealed booster box collecting, this is for you. There's all kinds of awesome data in here, and one of the reasons I love this video is because we do it every quarter, right? So that gives the market 3 months to do whatever it's gonna do before we come back and do a refresh and look at it again. And I'm also excited for this video because it's the third time we've done it, right? We cast Q1, we cast Q2. In this one, we're going to cast Q3, but that also means we have results from Q1. We have results we're going to talk about today from Q2. So we're starting to see how this is trending out and if there's any there. I've purposefully left that results blocks in the bottom blank. I'm going to show it to you in just a minute, but it's because the results are pretty good. And what I want to do right now is just say, hey, listen, we need more data before this means anything. Like, this is just simply for entertainment purposes. But we do have 18 months worth of data, so we're starting to get enough to the trend lines to make a little more sense, right? Whenever you're trending out data over a long period of time, obviously the more time, the more data points you have, the more relevant the output is. So we're at 18 data points now, and this is really exciting. But at the end of this, when we get into Lost Origin, Astral Radiance, Silver Tempest, you're going to start to see how the effect of time has on this output of projections for where these booster boxes might end up over the next 3 months. Now, the other thing I want to say is, listen, we've been in a hot Pokemon market, right? Like, sets have been performing well, sealed product has been performing well, any number of things that can happen to upset the apple cart. When we look at things from this view, this is simply math, right? It takes a look at booster boxes and how they performed over the last 18 months and how the prices have fluctuated, and it takes all that into consideration. Then it spits it out and says, hey, over the next 3 months, we think at the end of September, these booster boxes are going to be worth X amount based off of how they've been performing. So again, math is black and white. We're going to talk about restocks. We're going to talk about the effect it has on it, and always trust your instincts, because at the end of the day, you are the expert, right? The math simply is a guide. It's simply a tool in the tool belt when we were playing chess, when everybody else is playing checkers. So I can't wait to show this to you guys. And also, hey, since we do it quarterly, the channel's grown a lot over the last 3 months, and I'm excited to expose this to even more people. So what are the results? I told you we did this in Q1, we did this in Q2. Obviously, we have the results. I'm giving the results at the very beginning because there's a lot of data in here, and I want you to make sure that if you're going to spend the time watching this video, it is worth your hard-earned time. Now, Q1 and Q2 results, when we look at this, it gives us an upper confidence bound and a lower confidence bound. It also gives us a forecast, right? So the forecast is the exact number that the math thinks that this booster box is going to end up at the end of a quarter. Now, the upper and lower confidence bounds is pretty much the range. It could go as high as here, could go as low as here, but the forecast is right in the middle. Over Q1 and Q2, 22 of the 24 times we've looked at this, the booster box prices ended up within the upper and lower confidence bound. Now, that's pretty exciting stuff, but what I really thought was interesting is over Q1 and Q2, the forecast number, so that very specific number that the math says, hey, we think the booster box is going to end up at X, 18 of 24 times, it has ended up at that price or higher. Now, we've had a couple things that have happened, which has driven that number lower, right? We're going to talk about Lost Origins. The restock kind of gave us a loss there, and then the Brilliant Stars, right? The restock gave us a loss there. So there's a couple explainable things. But the interesting thing is, despite all of that, 18 out of 24 times when we've done this exercise, the booster box price has been at or above the forecast, which is just absolutely crazy. And I'm excited to cast out Q3. I'm excited to see where the results are going to go. And I'm going to walk you through that right now and what this looks like. So this is what it spits out. Now, basically, in the left-hand column, those are all the booster box prices from January 2022 up until the end of June. And then you see down at the bottom, it spits out these different projections. So what do these projections look like? First, you get the forecast. That's the one I just talked about. That is the hard number that the math is saying, hey, listen, at the end of September 2023, we think Sword and Shield is going to end up at $309.48. But then it also does this really cool thing where it gives you the upper and lower confidence bound, right? So this is the lower confidence bound right here. So it says, hey, if it falls short of $309, we think that the lower area, the lower boundary, is going to be $287. And then it also gives you this upper confidence bound where it says, hey, listen, if it outperforms, we think the higher band is going to be $331. And that's really interesting. When we get into the meat of this video, you're going to hear me talking about lower and upper confidence bounds, and if it skews high one way or if it skews low the other way, it kind of gives off a bullish or bearish trend based off of the math. So you'll hear me talk about upper and lower confidence bound in terms of percentages a lot. Now listen, if you've made it through this description and you're excited to see this math, you might be a great candidate to be a subscriber to this video in this channel, because we do all kinds of fun stuff like this all the time. So hit that subscribe button, right? We're building an amazing community, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. Questions or comments, drop them down below. And listen, speaking of community, I'm filming this early in the morning because we're on our way to the Children's Hospital as you're viewing this, and we're doing a meet and greet with their They're a charity team because we're doing a big Pokemon giveaway. I'm excited to bring that video to you guys. And also, speaking of community, I was traveling with my family in Ohio last week. I was on a business trip, brought them with me. We stopped by a Pokemon shop, and I was fortunate enough to have a gentleman come up to me and say, "Hey, are you that guy from PikaPikaPapa?" And I got to meet this amazing father, amazing son, Declan. And hey, Declan, I appreciate you. I'm your biggest fan, and it was a highlight of my PokeTuber career to be able to meet you guys and sign an energy card for you. So, as a small channel, that means a lot, and I really appreciate it. And this channel is all about you all. So anyways, with that out of the way, guys, listen, let's get into the math, okay? So here's the Sword and Shield set. Now, I'm gonna explain it to you like I always do right off the bat. That way, as we get in the meat of the video, we don't have to go through it time and time again. So if you look at Sword and Shield, this big box up here to the right, you're gonna see that kind of peach colored one where it says Q2 projection, right? Then you see the orange tile, right? The colors line up to the slide I just showed. Orange was the forecast for Q2, right? So now we're at the end of Q2, we're rolling into Q3. So the math said, hey, listen, at the end of Q2, we think Sword and Shield booster boxes are going to be at $200, or $280.43. And it actually ended up at $294, right? So Sword and Shield booster boxes beat the forecast. But it also gave us this upper and lower confidence bound, right? The lower confidence bound, it said, hey, you know, it might go down 7% to $259, or it might go as high as 8% up to $301. Now, $294 is higher than forecast, but lower than the upper confidence bound, right? So not only did it beat forecast, but it also ended up within the upper and lower confidence bound, which is really, really cool. This is the type of stuff, if you love data, this is just going to be revving your engine the whole video. So now we look at Q3. So below that, we have our Q3 projections, right? It shows you January price, June price, then you'll see July, August, September, and I've highlighted the cell down there, which is the end of September, right? So I said for the very last day in September, math, tell me what you think the booster box price is going to be. This is projecting Sword and Shield booster boxes is going to be at $309. Now, the interesting thing I want to call out, and I told you I'm going to pivot and start talking a lot about upper and lower confidence bounds, is look at the upper and lower confidence bound in Q2, right? Basically, the math said, you know, Sword and Shield, we're not really sure. You could go down 7%, you could go up 8%. Like, those were the boundaries that it set. But because Sword and Shield has had such a strong performance recently, look at what it has done. Look at the lower and upper confidence bound. Now, instead of being 50-50 up and down, it only has a negative 2% lower confidence bound and a positive 13% upper confidence bound. That is, to me, that's a bullish sign, right? Like, the math is saying, hey, we have more confidence that this set is going to appreciate higher than the risk of it going down, right? So that is what we're going to see in this video a lot. We're going to see a lot of trends, and it is really cool stuff to look at. So I love the fact that it can take more recent trends, like the recent 3-month bull run Sword and Shield has done, and then it kind of projects it out and it says, hey, listen, Sword and Shield's been hot. We think it's going to stay hot. This is really cool stuff. Now, we get into Rebel Clash down below, right? The forecast for Q2 was $208, and it beat forecast, coming in at $213. Now, what you're going to see here is last quarter, it was a little bit more bearish, right? It said, hey, it could go down 16%, it could go up 14%. Those are the lower and upper confidence bounds. Still close to a 50-50 split, but it was slightly favoring the lower confidence bound, right? But it beat forecast. So now when you look down below, since Rebel Clash hasn't been a big mover and shaker as of late, right? You see it started off January 2022 at $192. In June of 2023, it's at $213, right? So not a lot of movement over the last 18 months. The math is still protecting itself, but now instead of being skewed to the lower confidence bound, it's actually skewed to the upper confidence bound, right? So now it's saying, hey, listen, at the end of Q3, we think the booster box is going to be at $218. Not a big jump, right? Only $5, but that's because the booster box hasn't moved a lot over the last 18 months. And it says it could go down as low as 187 or as high as 248. But again, you see that in that upper and lower confidence bound. Now there's a more positive and a less negative. So super cool stuff. I absolutely love this. I think this is fun stuff for us to look at. Let's look at Darkness Ablaze right here. Before I get into Darkness Ablaze, I also want to say I have the same stuff for Sun and Moon. So if you guys are interested in seeing the same data for Sun and Moon, drop a comment down below. The Sun and Moon stuff is absolutely batty, and I'm happy to do it, but those booster boxes have been going crazy. So this is a ton of work. If you guys want me to do it, I'll do it. Drop in the comments down below. So Darkness Ablaze right here. Darkness Ablaze was the first one where we have seen what I call an unexplained miss. Like, I couldn't attribute it to a restock or a reprint, even though I think most reprints are restocks. We'll talk about that later. I couldn't really attribute it to anything, but guess what? It fell flat. So the math said, hey, we're forecasting it to be at $145, came in at 130. Lower confidence bound was 135, upper confidence bound was 154 for Q2, and it missed all across the board. So what happens now? Look at what the math is now saying. Now, instead of that really tight upper and lower confidence bound, -6% and +7% in Q2, the math broadens a lot because it says, darkness ablaze. Fool me once, you're not going to fool me again. I'm going to set a really wide net to try and catch whatever you're going to do over the next 3 months. Now, price point is at $134. That's the forecast for the end of Q3. Then you got a downside. It says, hey, it could go as low as -15% or as high as up 22%. That's kind of what we'll see in trends when it misses the forecast. You'll see if it misses, the math starts to really widen out, which makes all the sense in the world. Then we get to Vivid Voltage, right? Vivid Voltage basically was at forecast. It projected it was going to be at like $139, finished at $140. No sweat. Pretty awesome right there. You also see that the upper and lower confidence bound in Q2 was pretty much split 50-50. Now that we roll into Q3, again, you see that it's more favorable, right? It says, hey, it could go up 15%, could go down 8%, but it is projected at a forecast of $135, which is really, really cool. Now, that's because Vivid Voltage has had a whole lot of trials and tribulations here. So it's going to be interesting to see if it actually hits forecast. It's very rare for us to see a forecast lower, but this is one of the things that I love about looking at data, right? Because it'll be very fascinating to see, hey, we have one thing that doesn't look like the others. Is it going to follow trend? I don't think so. There's no way in God's green earth I think Vivid Voltage is actually going to lose money. It's outside of the restock window. I think Vivid Voltage is going to do well. I think Vivid Voltage is an okay set. I know it was printed into the ground, but I do think Vivid Voltage has some upside to it. So really interesting to see that. And I will say this, Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage are on my buy list. Like, I think that I'm not rushing out to buy them right now, but if I find a great deal, I think it's a good time to get in. Now, here we go, Battle Styles and Chilling Reign. So Battle Styles beat forecast in Q2, right? It forecasted out $109, finished at $112. That's super exciting. Again, beat forecast. Now it is going to have a little bit more upside than downside. It says, hey, upper confidence bound is up 17%, lower confidence bound is down 6%, a forecast of $118. Again, remember, a lot of times these forecasts aren't too high based off of the current price, but we're only looking at 3 months. I mean, 3 months is nothing, and $6 in 3 months, from a percentage standpoint, that's nothing to shake a fist at. So listen, Battle Styles, it's projecting it'll go from $112 to $118. It's got more upside than downside, so I wouldn't be surprised if it beats the tar out of that forecast, but it's really cool to look at here. Chilling Reign is a set that the math absolutely loves. Now, Chilling Reign to me is a cautionary tale, right? So it projected, the forecast was $148 and it finished at $143. So it actually missed forecast, right? No real reason to miss forecast, but it just did. But it was within the upper and lower confidence bounds. It said, hey, it could go as low as 130, high as 166, and it ended up at 143. So not a big deal. I think it's close enough to the forecast that I wouldn't feel bad about that. And it's certainly within the upper and lower confidence bounds. So the new projection has it in Q3 coming up to $157. And you also see that it is much, 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 much more bullish on the upside than the downside. It says, listen, it might have missed forecast by just a little bit, but we don't think it's going to drop below $137, and we think it could get as high as $178. Now, I don't know if it will make that big of a run. I do think that it'll appreciate over the next 3 months, but what it's not concerning to me, but it feels very Brilliant Stars-esque, and I'm not concerned with any of these restock noise, because, listen, they have the product. I want the product in people's hands now. Number one, it gets some awesome product in some awesome collectors' hands, which makes me happy. Number two, I don't want this sitting on shelves for years and years and years. Whatever you have, get it out in the market, Pokemon, get it sold, let's get it in people's hands, that way they're ripping it, that way I like sealed, that way I can have more sealed, that way there's more singles on the market, so the singles that I want I can buy at an affordable price, and we can start focusing on some of the newer stuff, and we don't have these restocks just trickling into the market for months and months and months, if not years and years and years. So all of this restock noise, I'm happy about it. Let's get it out in the hands of collectors, let's get it out in the hands of kids, let's do what the product is meant to do and put smiles on faces. So let's see what else we got here. Evolving Skies. Speaking of restocks, man, I saw a video this morning. It was like, oh, Evolving Skies Elite Trainer boxes are going to be reprinted. Like, they're going to be restocked. And then I looked at the very bottom and it said, this could be a restock. And this guy's got 100,000 subscribers. So obviously the dude knows what he's saying. But yes, you are correct, Mr. Whoever you are. It could be a reprint. It is more than likely a restock like you called out in the description. Why do I say that? Because I can buy Evolving Skies Elite Trainer boxes at my local Walmart all the time. I have so many that I actually stopped buying them. It was just crazy. So Evolving Skies Elite Trainer boxes certainly aren't something that the market has been missing. I know I've been picking them up left and right, like I just said, at my local Walmart. So I do think this is simply a restock because they can only restock so many at Walmart. Now they just want to get them out of the way to clear up some more room for Scarlet and Violet products that are coming out, and probably clearing up more room for that awesome 151 set. So a Q2 projection, it had the booster box for Evolving Skies at $144, which was just crazy. Now the math got really excited because Evolving Skies was on this incredible run up and to the right. Like, it looked like nothing could stop it. So it did fall short of forecast, but it did fall within the upper and lower confidence bounds. So $144, I'll call it $444, I'll call it $450. Seemed a little aggressive. Even the new projection, okay? So again, it's projecting Evolving Skies to come in at $450. I just don't see that happening. Now, I have no doubt it's going to fall within the upper and lower confidence bounds. Like, I know it's going to be higher than $350. I certainly know it's going to be less than $550. But this is one of those scenarios where you have a box that is incredibly hot and it's just going up and through the, like, the math can't keep up with the price appreciation, so it's trying to, so it throws out these crazy numbers. And Evolving Skies will fall within the upper and lower confidence bound, but I don't see it getting to $450 over the next 3 months. Maybe I'm wrong, who knows? I know I've got a couple booster boxes, so I wouldn't be upset about that. Then we get down to Fusion Strike. I'm a big fan of Fusion Strike. This is another one that beat forecast, right? Forecast was $140 for Q2, finished the month at $144. Again, it was kind of split on what's going to happen. It was 14% to the upside, 11% to the downside. Now we look at Q3 and look, it is more favorable to the upside. Fusion Strike, it thinks Fusion Strike is not going to get to $190, but it says it possibly could, and it said it could drop as low as $118. Again, it's not going to drop there, but the forecast, I like the forecast. The forecast at $154, that feels like a good number to me. That feels very approachable. I would not be surprised if Fusion Strike hits that forecast or even exceeds it a little bit. So really exciting to see that, because I am a Fusion Strike fan. I know a lot of people aren't. I know there was this big whatever hullabaloo months ago about it, but I'm a big Fusion Strike fan. I love the set. I think there's some awesome cardboard in that. Now, getting into Brilliant Stars. Brilliant Stars is another one where, listen, the thing that I like about this Brilliant Stars is look at the way it was heading. The math absolutely loved Brilliant Stars because when we did this for Q2, it was on that crazy bull run. Everybody's all on Brilliant Stars, which we currently are. Then it had that restock and it knocked it down. So the forecast was $191. Obviously, after the restock, it didn't even come close to that. It's at $146. But guess what? The thing that I like about this, and the reason that I think this is an awesome chest flex, is I see the way it was trending before. Guess what? This restock is going to flush out soon. Right? It's going to be flushed out soon. And when it is, I think Brilliant Stars is going to get right back on the trend it was on before. So to know that the math at one point had this projected as high as $191 makes me feel really good at picking this up at $146, because I have no doubt that this box is going to get right back on the track that it was before. Maybe in 6 months, I have no doubt whatsoever. So the interesting thing here is the new forecast has it at $177 in the next 3 months. Now that's because it had this crazy upward in the right trajectory. Then it dropped. In the last month, it went up a little bit more. So the math is probably thinking, hey, it could be getting back on track. I don't think it's going to appreciate that much over the next 3 months, but I do think that it will definitely fall within the upper and lower confidence bound. Look at that. It only says a 1% to the downside. Actually, the lower confidence bound is positive. It shouldn't even be red. The lower confidence bound is positive. So it says no matter what, the math thinks that this is going to appreciate in value. So if you're interested in getting into Brilliant Stars, the math certainly agrees that this is a good time to get in. Then we got Astral Radiance. Astral Radiance is a great set, I think. So this is a set, forecast was $126, came in at $122. Right there, kissing the forecast, but still barely missed it. Again, you look, hey, the forecast said it could go as low as 18%, could go up to 16%, but it came a little short of forecast. So when you look at the Q3 projections, it has it at flat, which I think, hey, if Astral Radiance stays flat over the next 3 months, then I think it's going to be a great buying opportunity. There's some really cool cardboard in there. I think it's a set that's kind of flying under the radar. I don't know if it'll be a top 4 or 5 set, but I certainly think it'll end up as one of the more popular sets in the Sword and Shield era. So what happens when you miss forecast? What happens when you also see there's one less data point, right? Like Astral Radiance came out in February of 2022. So now we're going to see the math starts to get a little wonky with the upper and lower confidence bounds as the data point, as the data set gets smaller and smaller, right? So Astral Radiance, we'll see. I certainly think it's going to exceed forecast. I don't see it staying flat over the next 3 months, but I also don't see it getting all the way up to $154. So I think it's going to fall somewhere in between. Now, Lost Origin, speaking of one that got clipped by the restock, here it is. Again, math was all about Lost Origin, right? Had it forecasted out at $157. Obviously, the restock announcement, the price came down. I think the restock's supposed to hit even the middle of next month. Who knows? Restock isn't even here yet. We've already seen the price change, which is simply why you know it's not a reprint, it's a restock. So the math really liked it. It had it going all the way up to $180, right? This was feeling very Brilliant Stars-ish. Again, no concern from PikaPikaPaPa. I think this set is going to do what it was destined to do anyway, so I'm not concerned. But what happens when you see something that misses forecast and it has less data points than everything else? If you look at the upper and lower confidence bound, For Q3, it's just batty, right? It makes no sense. So listen, we have no concern. We know it's going to beat forecast. This is going to be a gimme win next month. We know it's going to beat forecast. We know it's going to fall within the upper and lower confidence bounds. And that's what happens when you have less data points. And that's why I said this stuff gets really, really cool as we start to look more and more. And that's also why the sun and moon view is so cool. So again, if you guys want to see sun and moon, drop it in the comments down below. Silver Tempest here, same thing, really small data set, started in August of 2022. You'll see that the math had a forecast for Q2 of $138. It beat it up to $144. Now you'll see that, again, it's got a really big delta between the lower confidence bound and upper confidence bound. I like the forecast at $157 for Silver Tempest, even though I hear, hey, Silver Tempest is going to get restocked. I have no concerns about that. These restocks for Sword and Shield, they just don't bother me at this point, right? Like, I think it's good to get the product in the collector's hands. I think it's good to get it out in the market, and I think it's going to be awesome for all of us in the long run. So, hey, listen, guys, I know this is super data heavy, but you know, I think this is really cool stuff. And again, this is one of the quarterly videos that just builds on itself as we get more data points, as more things happen in the hobby. It's going to be really cool to see how this all shakes out. For me, it's been exciting because it's been a journey. I started this at the end of December, then obviously I did it at the end of Q1, at the end of Q2, and now we'll get to do it again in Q3. So, hey, if you guys enjoy stuff like this and you made it all the way to the end and you haven't hit the subscribe button, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. If you like what you saw, give us a thumbs up. Questions or comments, drop them down below. I appreciate you guys. You guys have a good one, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.